All right. So let's get with the ish. For this continuation of the Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose storyline, I'm going to do it in a different fashion. I want to point out a couple of things first before I do the deeper dive into what happened this past SmackDown. For starters, I thought it's just me, funny as hell the way that Otis came running out because he looked like a little baby, the way that he was flailing his arms. So if you get a chance, rewatch that. And especially having the too small t-shirt or cut off, I wish they would stop that. I mean, we already know he's heavy, but it is what it is. But him running to the ring, I just thought was hilarious. When he does the rescue and save for Mandy, don't hump at Sonya and Dolph when the person you want to be with is like standing to your left. That's the person you should be humping. I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm just like saying what it is. It just seemed a little weird. Third thing is that when he came into the ring as well and rescued, I thought it would have been better after he knocked the crap out of Dolph and Dolph left the ring. Then he should have wrangled the ropes, representing his anger and like, let's get it on. Don't wait all the way until basically the end as they're walking up the ramp. It is what it is. It's just something that I thought just character-wise just represented a little bit more rage for his character. Now, let's get with the ish. This segment reminded me of something that I recently heard Vince Russo state a few weeks ago on one of his podcasts. I forgot who he was talking to. I'm not sure if it was Matt Morgan. He may mention that you ever notice that every time you'll have a heel in the ring, they'll talk some smack, the face will run out, and then the heel will run out the ring, and then there's like the ring becomes this invisible force field that prevents the baby face from running out going after the heel. So the second that Dolph came out, that kind of went into play a little bit because I've never seen a fight, unless it's somebody that's really, really respected in the neighborhood, or if it's like your parent, your partner, whomever, that's going to stop you from putting hands on someone. It just looked really odd to have Mandy about to take off her jacket and ready to do it, and then Dolph's music kicks in, and then they just stop for Dolph to come out, and whom I felt was the wrong person to come out. Otis should have come out first, rather than the cliche that they do have him come out and be the hero. I'm just going to run a concept. What I would have done, as you've always heard me say, is as the girls are really about to get into it, let's say like Mandy takes off her jacket, right? And then they square off, they start looking at you. You know what the women do in the ring. They cock their heads a little bit to her, like, do the shrugging the shoulders, whatever. And then let's just say they lock up. Or they just start going for blows, right? I would say lock up because it's something different. But let's just say they start going for blows. Otis comes out, right? And then as you see, because he's trying to stop what's going on, you see Otis run out, and then from out of nowhere, that's when Dolph will come out and sideswipe Otis, and then they would thump into it. I felt that once you put Dolph in the mix of it, it slowed the momentum of that promo. Not that it was a bad promo. We're going to come. That's a whole other thing. Something that I warned you about in the last ep that I did on this. He came in, his music, like I said, they stopped. And then he comes in and he's like, oh, wait. And, trying to like vie for her affection. And I just kind of feel personally, he should be out the picture. If she is definitely going to swing with Otis, that's it. Now, it would have been different if he had come in and started yamming on her the same way that Sonya did. He'd come out and he'd say, damn it, like, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm the perfect catch for you. Sonya was doing the right thing. How come you want to go out with Sausage Boy over me? Something insulting. Because remember, I kept saying weeks after weeks, even the last ep, it's like, is he face or is he heel? It's like we keep, at least from my perspective, we keep him on that fence, because to have him vying for her affections, it keeps it in a love triangle. The love triangle, in my opinion, should have been busted once she popped him in the chop or hit him in the balls and then smacked. Actually, once she saw the tape, once she saw the video, but then it really, confirms itself at Mania. She walks off with Otis, or he carries her off. Then they do their post interview, and then they're going to go hang out, and then they're doing IG lives, and they're building up that character. Why do we still have dude in here? He should, all his energy should just be at beating up Otis. He shouldn't even, he should really just go full heel. Stop the, didn't you feel it? And all that, because the way that he was acting, it reminded me of the ending of this film, Boomerang, with Eddie Murphy, Halle Berry, and Robin Givens. At the very end, when he's trying to get her back. That's what that scene felt like, and to do like a fake out, whereas he's playing it that way, and will she or won't she, the same way they did the fake out with Sonya, acting as if she's going to say I'm really in love with you, but then she's going to really put the screws in. I saw that a mile away. It's like we've seen it so many times before. I keep calling for like different ish, and it is what it is. So as I was saying, Dolph comes out, it slows that whole thing up. Like, why do the ladies have to stop? We know that they're going to have a match. Side note, I wouldn't even go into the mixed tag thing, because that was supposed to be for Mania. Is done. I could understand in a way we need to milk content, so let's have this match, and then we'll have them have their singles match. Everyone knows, that reads the dirt sheets, the trades, whatever, that they're supposed to have a match. You see the stuff on YouTube. Change in plan. Change in plan. We're not going to do it this way. Let's just have the women get into the shit. That's it. So why not just have them? It's a vintage freaking Rock Austin. Get in, Rock Triple H. Get in, start thumping. Trish Lita. Side note, we're going to come back to that. Just start thumping. Otis comes in, Dolph comes in, there's chaos. The same thing is going to happen at the end that you saw. Just makes sense to me. She getting ready to take off. She gets ready to take off her jacket. Oh, I'm so glad like what? Like, you just stopped the whole momentum. The buildup is watching them square off a little bit. Even if it ended up with them rolling onto the ground. Hey, we want to save something for the ring. Okay, they grapple, they smack, they hit a couple of times, let's say 4 times, or there's a whip to the rope. Then they ended up, on the ground, or on the mat. And then here comes Otis, ... you fill in the blanks. With the Dolph heel face, honestly, the biggest, trashiest thing that I think he did throughout this whole storyline for me was stepping on the cake. Moons ago. Because it's family related. That's something that someone in my family, my mother made that. And I'm giving it to you. I have affections for you, and someone's coming to disrespect that. And my mother saw it as well. So the fact that Otis already knew, because his mom saw it, his mom told Otis, the fact that Dolph stepped on that cake moons ago, I would have whipped his ass moons ago. So the showing the pictures with Mandy and all that stuff, I'm just talking about in the storyline, the subplot of Otis and Dolph, because we can say the lowest thing that he did was playing with Mandy, but it didn't really seem from his perspective as if, once again, not being a heel. It didn't really seem like he was playing to manipulate Mandy. It seemed like he really liked Mandy. All the game playing is coming from Sonya. So I'm still not seeing, even when they're in the background plotting, he didn't really say anything heelish. This has been my whole thing for weeks. All he said, when you look back at it, when it comes to Mandy, I'm all about it. That was it. He manipulated men at the restaurant. You know, from that point on, you never seen him crap on Otis. Let's say they were in the restaurant and he took a dump on her, took a dump on her. For instance, if they were at the restaurant and they had a scene where Dolph was, bad mouthing Otis, that's a different scenario, but you never saw that. All you saw was a guy that was very interested in a woman. That's it. If he comes into the ring and then really goes in on Mandy, like, yo, what are you doing? Are you retarded? Why do you want to go out with da-da-da when I'm a 10? This, that, and the third. And why aren't you listening to Sonya? But they're not playing it that way. I don't understand. I don't think that a love triangle situation could work after this point, but I don't know what they're doing. It's just something that I'm bringing up right now. I don't see Otis going heel, which would be the biggest swerve that no one would see, but I don't really even see that working because he's so likable right now. So I don't know, like, what is this thing that they're doing with Dolph? Is he booked for a movie where he's in a romantic comedy? He has to play, the lovable, likable guy in a movie that we don't know about. So they're like, okay, we'll straddle the fence with you on SmackDown so that you can still get the part. I don't know, but I've been consistently saying this for weeks that they're not showing him do enough heelish stuff, and he should look outside of him bugging Otis. So to be complete heel, and then on top of that, to have a mixed tag with him and Sonya, and to me, like, he's still face, still heel. Like, no, he needs to be the complete asshole. What better way would have been to say that? So that's my 50 cents on that. Now I want to move into the stuff that I told you last episode, rather. I told you Sonya can cut promos. I said that. I saw her. I knew it when I saw her and Ruby Riott. They were at one, and they played off one another really well when they had their little beef on NXT. And the way that they were both cutting promos, I was like, Sonya is good. I told you, Mandy, But I just saw Mandy on a live IG with Kayla, and they were in character somewhat, right? And her improv was on point. She's on point. Her improv is very, very great sense of humor. I mean, I've already seen that on Mandy's Donuts, but just the way that she can play into the character based off the questions that Kayla was throwing to her, she was on point with it. So I'm expecting more. I'm definitely expecting more from her. And to live up to the iconography, I'm going to say, of Trish Stratus of Trish Stratus, which we all know. And if you don't know, now you know, she's gotten compared to. The game, as far as the promos and everything else, has to be stepped up. The wrestling, I've seen her do stuff. This is what was making me upset. I was watching earlier matches while I started, doing these episodes, and I'm watching her do movesets, and I'm like, yo, we don't see this on SmackDown. If you recall, on one of my episodes, it might have been this one. It might have just been something when I was just talking about the business in general. I know that the women, they're given a certain time limit. All the talent is. They're given, all right, you got 15 minutes to do this. You got 7 minutes to do this. So sometimes you got to go into your standard bag of tricks. I'm going to do this move and do that move. It's going to get over. We've used it 15 times before, right? But when I've seen, like, a number of different move sets, and I'm like, whoa, like, I've never seen this. I've never seen her do that. And that's like, oh, okay, I get it now. So I'm hoping that This is going to give both of them the prime opportunity to go into their bag of tricks and start really showing everybody, all right, the stuff that you haven't seen, you're going to start seeing it now. More so on her based on the promo that was cut against her. Here's my little questions. Here are my little tweaks, if you will. Once again, remember when Sonya was saying, I'm going to get what I want? We weren't still sure on what that was. So I take it that now it's she just wants to hurt her continuously, right? But there's no clarification to Mandy because she keeps asking, how did I mess up? And I think that if there was more clarification on that, even if it meant Sonya saying, like, week 1, you give dude the ham, I need you out in the ring and you're not around. And there were a number of cases when I needed you around me, Mandy, and you weren't there. Okay, now let's flag what Sonya said. She said, all I want to do is see you hurt. Anyone listening, I want you to keep that in your mental database because that statement, we're going to come back to that, okay? I also never realized that Sonya's face was blurred out when they came out. I don't recall me seeing. I just always remembered the titles Fire and Desire. So I missed that. That was definitely a dagger. I would not have had Sonya cut that promo utilizing Mandy's looks because it takes away from Sonya and focuses more on Mandy. I'm not taking anything away from Mandy Rose at all, but Sonya is goddamn good looking. That goes without saying, and I know that they both know it. And I've seen comments from guys, and they're out of control when it comes to her as well. So I would not have gone down that route because it was very easy. If I were going to, then I would have pointed it out, but then flipped it on me, which is, have Sonya say, you might believe that you're really God's greatest creation, but, not for nothing, I'm just as friggin' hot as you. I could see people like, whoa, she's like really giving her the business, so, stop thinking that your looks are what's going to get you over in this business because I'm sick of it. Something to that effect. It just would have been something that was just different because I feel like I've heard that before. And we know in real life that they've both probably heard that before, along with the other women in the back that have heard that before. It thus makes it real, but to me, it just feels like it's easy to say, I'm jealous of you because you're pretty. But to me, that mechanism doesn't work when you're not chopped liver yourself. I would have definitely reversed the heat and put it back on myself. But I'm like, I'm just as, as attractive as you are, if not better. Whoa! Now imagine if that was in a packed audience and people I think they would have went nuts. So, but that's just my 2 cents. Let's move on. The fact that Sonya then says, I'm tired of playing second fiddle to Mandy, and she has no talent, absolutely no talent. It didn't hit me the first time, but it hit me afterwards. I'm like, well, realistically, that's Sonya's fault because you're hanging around that person. If you didn't feel that they had talent, then you go team up with Natalya. Go team up with Naomi. Go team up with Sasha. Go team up with Bayley. But for years, you are still outside of Paige because Paige is no longer in the picture. After you dumped Paige, I'm just talking about we're character building, and this is what you're putting in on paper as the promo. So based off the past, after you've dumped Paige, then you should have dumped Mandy as well. It's like, you know what? Not only am I done with Paige, I'm also done with you because you don't have any talent. So technically it makes Sonya's character look bad because you were hanging around her when you cut that part of the promo. That's just what I'm getting out of it. Or it's complete bull chips and you don't believe it, but you figure that you could break her spirit, but it doesn't seem like it. The intent of that promo was like, this is what I feel about you. Hence getting a response from Mandy saying, oh, I'm so glad that I smacked you at WrestleMania. Now, I had been listening to one or two other podcasts, and a while ago they were making mention, this is pretty recent actually, about why do the female talent always use the term bitch. And with me, I'm free speech, whatever. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And then I just started noticing that was true. I'm like, oh wow, like Sasha just used it like last week. It's when you, and just made me think like, why couldn't she just call her, a centerfold bimbo or something? Just kind of, it's like getting to a point now when the women cut promos, I just might as well assume that bitch is gonna come out because look, I can't say because, it just makes me question, is it because of lack of vocabulary? I don't know, but it just seems like every time there's a hard body promo, bitch comes out. Natalia's famous for it too as well. It was something that I just decided to just mention. It is what it is. It still didn't hurt the promo, just whatever. Now, on the flip side, I really, really can only hope that, as I stated before, I could hope that Mandy cuts crazy ass promos if put in the position to do so, which seems like, but then again, as I'm thinking about it, like, I don't think Elias, with what's going on with Corbin, has cut a promo yet, so she may not be put in that position. But if given the opportunity, I could only hope that, I mean, look, like, in fact, use, something to the effect, something like with what I was saying, like, look, if I was so bad, why did you hang out with me? You could have went to Natalia, you could have went to all these people, yada, yada, yada. The bottom line, they probably all thought that you stunk. That's cutting. That's a good get back. Or, you know what? When we were in the Elimination Chamber, where we could have become the first ever women's tag team champions, it was you who tapped out to Sasha Banks. She wasn't a UFC fighter. You also got pinned just as much as I did when we went up against Bliss and Cross. So, for you to sit here and say that I suck, you call yourself a real fighter. Sonya, you got pinned by Alexa that time and you tried to blame it on me because I fell. No, you got pinned because you tried to use Otis to come down the ring as a distraction, the same way you tried to do it with Dolph. And that time you weren't focused as well. If that's evidence of a real fighter, from not being focused, you hit me out of the ring, costing me the Royal Rumble, and I still forgave you for that. Is that a real fighter? Something to that effect, that, there's a lot there that if they put it together and they craft it, she could cut a couple of really good ones. So, overall, this week, it put like this. It took long enough. This was a very good promo. It was a very good standoff. Actually, you know what? If they need filler, this would be the time to do the mixed tag. Do it on SmackDown. Don't do it on a pay-per-view. Singles match, pay-per-view. Or if, well, it's pretty much going to be understood if Mandy is going to try to qualify for the Money in the Bank, or if Sonya's going to try to qualify for that there's going to be problems more than likely. Or they're just going to have their own match. So it would make more sense if Mandy's trying to qualify and then Sonya runs in, or vice versa, and then there's a challenge for Money in the Bank. But who knows these days? So after doing some research, I happened to trip and fall and find this, dated April 18th, 2005. 15 years ago, almost to the date, the day before. SmackDown, this past week's SmackDown was 4/17/20. Lita and Trish promo. There's certain things that sound very similar. I'm not a person that believes a lot in coincidences. And like I said, I tripped and fell into this. And when I found it, I was like, oh, snap. So it is what it is. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you on the flip side.
So can you please just come out here so that I can make things right?
So, Lita, if you'll come down here, let's just talk. And before this thing gets out of control, please come down here. Let's just have a talk, please. Me and you, we have been through so much together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think of the history, you know? Trish and Lita.
To NXT, to Absolution, to Fire and Desire, it's always been Mandy and Sonya.
And I want to let you know that you're like a sister to me.
I know you better than anybody in this entire world knows you, like a sister.
Which is obviously why you've done your best to make this past year for me a living hell.
All I want is to see you hurt.